Welcome to The Adventures of Captain EJ. Today, we will continue our most important mission yet. You can do anything you set your heart to, and I know that together, we can defeat any foe. I'm so grateful to have you as my trusted sidekick, hero, and just in time. In case you missed the last episode, I'll give you the quick captain's recap. Now, the town of Dormere shimmers as bright as Sally Smith herself thanks to our strategizing, and its residents enjoyed another night of undisturbed sleep, unlike us. We had to sneak in power naps, pun intended.
Ooh, that was a good one, Captain.
Thanks. I thought you'd like that one, Mr. Honeybee. Where were we? Once again, we outpaced and outmaneuvered the Knucklers' clever tricks. Cunning is a finite resource, but heroism is not. In a truly heroic feat, we managed to plate the entire town in protective silver. Pinky got wind of our undertaking and unveiled their newest threat, a handheld electrical shock socket that administers a bolt of lightning on command. We didn't expect that our silver, their kryptonite, would become a glaring weakness that we were literally wearing on our backs. After coming face to face with the Knucklers and nearly their lightning, we hightailed it into an abandoned wooden shack that somehow stood the test of time. Luckily it did, because its dried out lumber was not a good conductor for the electrical current that was used against us, unlike the silver. If we did nothing else, we distracted the Knucklers enough for the meantime. Though I'm getting the sense that we may have gotten a little too much of their attention. Now Pinky and Thumb aren't focused on destroying Dormere. Instead, it seems they're set on seeking revenge against us. Mr. Honeybee has uploaded everything you need to ejmissions.com, including pictures from my missions and a bonus story about how I met my canine best friend, Cadet. That's ejmissions.com. All you have to do is close your eyes, get cozy, and listen to the sound of my voice. Captain EJ will lead the way. EJ. Let's begin. You are here on your second power nap in the top bunk of an all but abandoned wood shack. The town of Dormere gets a single ray of morning sunshine throughout the day. It's shining down on you through the window. Take a slow, deep breath in through your nose. Feel its brilliance warming your cheeks. And slowly breathe all the way out through your mouth and sink deeper into this peaceful moment as if it can last forever. A wisp of fog creeps out from the corners of the wooden window pane, but doesn't obstruct the sunshine. Captain EJ sits at a desk in front of the window. He looks up from writing something to enjoy the sunshine as well. This is the last round of power naps before you two get a head start on the day. We need to figure out what our next move is. Captain EJ mumbles to himself as if he's working that out now. You shift in the bunk and it creaks like old tired bones beneath you. Captain EJ looks back to see that you've woken up. He pats the notepad on the desk and doesn't miss a beat filling you in. Hero, we need to get ahead of them. We cannot keep playing catch up. I know we can get ahead of this, but how? You center yourself in his question as if searching for the missing puzzle piece within it. It's safe to assume that they can think up anything they want in that lab and make it into a destructive reality. Between their parents' extensive technology and their scientific training, they have a veritable playground at their disposal. As if reading your mind, Captain EJ twists around quickly to look out the window. Thinking something has gotten his attention for a reason, you hop down from the bunk and join him at the desk. You can't see anything but the formidable fortress that is the Knuckler compound. It towers over the otherwise beautiful mountainous landscape. Captain EJ turns back to you, now standing right behind him. The beginning of a good idea glimmers in his eyes. They have an endless resource of science smarts supplying them. We have absolutely no access to that. How can we shut off their evil thoughts? They're so isolated they don't care about people. They might be scientific geniuses, but we have an entire history of fighting for what's right behind us. What's our next move, hero? I feel like we know it, but we don't know we know it, you know? Of course you know, even though that sentence made absolutely no sense. You know it in the special way that your great minds just think alike. You and Captain EJ alternate between mulling over the problem as if you share a brain and staring out the window at the Knuckler compound. That's when you get an idea. You run back to your bunk and put your BattleBuzz helmet back on. Captain EJ watches you closely, almost anticipating what you're going to do next. With the infrared vision, you can see that Pinky and Thumb are both still sleeping in their beds. You look up to the sun that is just approaching high noon and quickly shield your eyes. You definitely shouldn't look at the sun with infrared vision. As if on cue, Mr. Honeybee chimes in from within your helmet.
Rookie mistake, hero. But we all have to make it at least once. Captain's done it, and I can't lie to you. I've done it more than once. Turns out, the sun is made of fire.
You and Captain EJ squeeze in a little laugh wherever you can and rely on the instincts sizzling through your great minds once again. You might not be able to get into their heads and neutralize all their antisocial impulses, but you can access the Knuckler compound, and that's exactly what we're going to do. Together, you fill in Mr. Honeybee and head out the door into Dormere, which looks breathtaking in the crisp morning sun. Gather your breath back with another slow, deep breath in through your nose. Feel the sensation of your heart beating as you reconnect with your strength and focus. Then slowly breathe all the way out through your mouth and take big steps through the overgrown grass that surrounds the wooden shack. The beloved Dormere playground, still plated in silver barricades, shines so bright that you can see your reflection in it. That reminds you that you're still wearing your suits of silver, which have become more of a liability than anything. As you walk beside Captain EJ, you both duck behind the silver wall to shed your suits. You radio to Mr. Honeybee through your helmet and let him know that the suit should appear in the garage. Now, the suits teleport back to Command Center without disruption, and Mr. Honeybee stores them in Stronghold for safekeeping. You don't know when, but you are certain they will be used again. Without the cool silver suit on, you brush the soft fleece of your favorite hoodie gently against your arms. Together we make our way back through the town, checking to make sure everything is as it should be. Dormere has filled back up with the familiar morning bustle of people resuming their lives without worry. You fold the BattleBuzz helmet back into a beanie so no one thinks there is any trouble at hand. We want to keep everyone that sees us as calm as possible. We let them enjoy their lives, that is, after all, why we do what we do. Before Sally Smith can walk into the door to a local hardware store, she sees us from afar and skips happily over to us. Besides her usual shimmer, she is wearing a radiant smile, the kind that comes with an abiding sense of peace.
Captain EJ! Hero! Hey! Isn't it such a lovely morning? So happy to see you two back in Dormere. What brings you here? You sure ended the Knucklers' reign of terror quickly. We haven't heard anything from them at all since the silver plating. Actually, we did hear something very loud and very strange yesterday, but I don't think it was them, though.
What Sally heard was Captain EJ's voice stopping the Knuckler's vaporization ray in midair, changing the subject so he doesn't have to explain that his voice is actually one of the most powerful forces of sound on this planet. Captain EJ points back to the hardware store. It's a beautiful day for a stroll through the mountains, and apparently, a project. You heading off to work on something new?
Oh, yeah. Smile big, and I'll tell you.
Not knowing why you need to smile, you and Captain EJ smile a big, fake smile that shows all your teeth and hope for the best. Sally shades her eyes with her hand and looks around your grin like she's searching for something.
Wow, your smiles look so lovely. Not a cavity in sight. You must be excellent brushers. Can't say as much for the rest of us, unfortunately.
You and Captain EJ look at each other's smiles and confirm their loveliness. You take this as a gentle reminder to brush up on your brushing and look back to Sally. She goes on to explain the new silversmithing project that she's beginning to work on today. Along with her team, she will be fabricating tiny cubes of silver for a group of traveling dentists. These dentists realize just how big of a problem cavities cause worldwide. Silver is the most cost-effective material to make fillings out of, so Sally has the honor of sending millions of teeny silver teeth fillers on their merry way.
We're brightening the smiles of the world, really. And we couldn't possibly do it without you two. No way, no how. My family's entire silversmithing operation was saved. Despite Pinky and Thumb's best attempts to tarnish it, the Knuckler equipment helps so many lives around the world, in so many ways. I get teary-eyed just thinking about it. Thank you both so much.
Sally gives you and Captain EJ a big squeezing hug. As its most long-standing resident, she speaks for the entire town when she thanks you for your help.
Oh, and I almost forgot. Your cool-looking car things are still at my ranch. You're welcome to keep them there, but I can't promise I won't tinker with them.
You walk with Sally back to the hardware store and duck into a little alleyway to call your ENVs back with a quick gesture. Nothing good can come from someone who's not Mr. Honeybee tinkering with them. You can hear the townspeople shriek as the car that can drive itself takes sharp turns down their streets. They arrive with a screech at your feet. You and Captain EJ hop into your vehicles and continue on your rather peaceful patrol around Dormere with your windows down. Take a slow, deep breath in through your nose. Let your arm flop out the window and catch the breeze as you drive. Then slowly breathe all the way out through your mouth. And put your other arm out the window, letting the car drive itself some more. You and Captain EJ joyride around the empty edges of town and ensure that everything looks like it usually does, safe and happy. No one needs to know what we're doing to ensure that it stays that way. It's enough that they feel how protected they are. Mr. Honeybee radios in on your battle bus helmet just as you pull up to an inconspicuous spot outside the Knuckler compound and just out of sight. The fortress-like walls tower high above the landscape and sit like a heavy gray cloud of machinery above the natural beauty.
Do you have eyes on Pinky and Thumb? If you can get me their coordinates, I can put a geo-track on them that will alert us if they move at all.
You fold the battle bus helmet open to look through the walls with infrared scopes. They are both snoozing away in their beds, completely unaware and unconcerned with what's going on out here. Let's keep it that way. Captain EJ sends the coordinates to Mr. Honeybee, who initiates the tracking. He will be our eyes and ears should we need extras. We engage stealth mode on the ENVs, and the already quiet electric engine winds down to perfect silence. This will allow us to hover straight up to the rooftop lab, where Pinky and Thumb so pitilessly carried out their vaporization attacks. With the push of a button, our ENVs take to the sky and slowly lift us up along one side of the compound that backs up to the forest. The desolator comes into view, sitting dormant but still pointed down at the town of Dormere like a cannon. You look down to the rooftop lab that you're hovering over. The floor is too far away to jump down to without potentially waking the Knucklers up with a heavy landing. Mr. Honeybee instead instructs you to initiate the emergency exit sequence.
Captain EJ, Hero, do you copy?
We copy, Mr. Honeybee, over.
This is a relatively new feature that I installed with the hover wings. You need to follow these steps carefully. Put the ENV in neutral, then activate the interior fans. Once that's done, you'll know.
With your hand gently on the gear shift, you pull it down to the end that indicates neutral and it clicks into place. The already silent ENV now becomes perfectly still. Next, you activate the interior fans by pushing a knobby dial all the way to the right. You can feel a little wobble beneath your feet before the entire bottom of the ENV opens up and the seat transforms into a swinging rope ladder. Where your hands were placed on armrests, they now grip the highest rung of a ladder. Could have used a bit more warning for this one, Mr. Honeybee.
But what's the fun in that?
Oh, Mr. H. You're just begging for prankbacks, aren't you? Dangling from the electric vehicle hovering over your sworn enemy's compound isn't exactly your idea of fun. You think of all the possible pranks you and Captain EJ can play on Mr. Honeybee when this is all over. That helps you rein in your worry, which, like the Knucklers, wants to get the better of you in this highly stressful situation. Take a slow, deep breath in through your nose. Feel the wind beneath the wings supporting you as you lower yourself down the ladder rung by rung. Then slowly breathe all the way out through your mouth and get to the bottom of the rope ladder. Right hand, right foot. Left hand, left foot. When you're close enough to the tile of the rooftop lab, you step down as silently as you can and find your balance. Captain EJ follows suit and you two stand perfectly still for a moment. Mr. Honeybee confirms that neither brother has stirred and that you're still in the clear for this stealth mission. With a flick of your wrist, the ENVs zip away out of sight and park themselves nearby, awaiting your alert. Mr. Honeybee downloads return flight paths to their hard drives, taking weather patterns and heightened radiation near the compound into consideration. While he's working on that, you and Captain EJ get a hands-on tour of the now infamous Dr. Knuckler lab. You walk over to the desolator, which looks like a centuries-old rusted cannon mixed with the sleek machinery of a high-powered telescope. This is what the elder Knucklers use to mine silver from the air. This thing helps so many people in need. Realizing that, you look all around you and see awe-inspiring views of Dormere, resting in the shadow of two mountain peaks on either side. The very air that you're breathing must be saturated with silver particles that you just can't see. A bulky pair of goggles hang on a hook above the desolator. You fold the BattleBuzz helmet halfway back to put them on. They are a bit tight around your face, but it seems they're meant to be that way. At first you don't see anything but pure blackness. Thinking you must be missing something, you look all the way up to see the daylight moonrise, which is barely visible in the sunshine but clear as, well, day in Dormere. Then you slowly scan your new vision all the way to one side. Suddenly, you are surrounded by twinkling bursts of microscopic shimmer. The air is chock full with silver. Your silent reaction gets Captain EJ's attention from the other side of the lab, and he joins you to put on a second pair hanging from the hook. His reaction is just the same. His mouth drops open in awe. You two then look at each other through the goggles. Not only do you look like old-timey pilots with them on, but you're also both covered in silver dust. Simultaneously, you both take off the goggles and look down at your very normal-looking arm. These goggles magnify and attune your vision to see the shimmer that sparkles all around you in this magical place. You and Captain EJ place the goggles back on the hook just as you found them. Mr. Honeybee radios into your helmet with a new finding.
This is interesting, team. I fell into a sort of weather research rabbit hole while determining your return flight path. Dormere is consistently one of the coldest places in the entire Honeybee neighborhood. You'd think that minimal sunshine would leave people less happy, but the cold air does something else entirely. Long-term exposure to cool temperatures has a positive effect on brain function. It might not be a coincidence that two of the world's leading scientists live there. Let's see. Due to something called cold thermogenesis, the brain, which runs on glucose and does not itself get cold, has more glucose available to use in colder temperatures. In warmer temperatures, our brains use more of the glucose brain fuel to keep the body from overheating. Is the weather making the Knucklers into super geniuses? Ugh. How can we fight weather?
Let's just focus on this part of the mission, Mr. Honeybee. We can worry about their weather advantages later.
Right. Well, here's some good news. It looks like your foes are still snoozing. I sent a nano analyzer in through their air vents to remotely measure their heart rate to see where they are in the sleep cycle. The calculations are just finishing up, and they're in stage 3, deep sleep. They're completely shut down. Now it's time to shut them down fully.
Using the Knucklers' unconscious brains to our advantage, you and Captain EJ sneak around the rooftop in opposite directions to secure the perimeter. With a thumbs up from both sides, you quickly get to work on disabling all the machines you can get your hands on. You start with the desolator, and Captain EJ takes care of the electrical workbench that powers up an array of contraptions that sit neatly organized in cubbies. Wherever you look behind the desolator, you see a different color wire. You stop for a moment, wondering if you could possibly do any damage to this important, though currently misused machine. There's no time to think about such things right now. The threat is still too imminent. You instead focus on disconnecting the Knucklers from their assumed sources of power. Captain EJ gets the idea to shut off the electricity to the entire compound, and Mr. Honeybee guides him to a locked electrical panel on the side of the house. Using the key replicator that hangs on the keychain, in case he ever loses a key, Captain EJ mimics the shape of the necessary key with a laser force that opens the panel effortlessly. This will set Pinky and Thumb back a little in figuring out that we've gotten ahead of them in their schemes. That little slice of time can make all the difference for us, and we know to build these momentous advantages into any mission whenever we can, all in an effort to not underestimate your opponent. The Knucklers will think that the power simply went out, and they will come out here to investigate before thinking anything else. They'll be left in the dark, literally, and that will turn the tables in our favor. Captain EJ returns to you still standing at the desolator, trying to sort through the tangled mess of wires that connect to a control panel behind the machine. The desolator rumbles and whines when its primary source of power is disrupted, but it immediately starts back up when a secondary source of power kicks in. Mr. Honeybee checks in on Pinky and Thumb, who sleep undisturbed by the sounds of their wicked playground being confiscated. You just need to find the wire that controls the power supply. But how? As always, Mr. Honeybee has done some research that will help.
Tell me what colors you see, team. I found an electrician's guide to standard wire colors. Let's hope these extraordinary scientists are just a little bit standard in their setup.
Captain EJ helps you get your hands out. Now you can see there is a red wire, some exposed copper wires, and an orange wire as well. You and Captain EJ untangle them and follow each one back to the desolator, but you still cannot tell which needs to be disabled.
Do you see a gray or a white wire back there? Those are typically the grounded wires that deliver power to the system.
Parsing through the bright rainbow of colored wires, you come upon the biggest of them all that is tucked away under the base of the machine. Captain EJ uses his super strength to lift the desolator up so you can reach under it. Take a slow, deep breath in through your nose. Feel your own electricity coursing through you, powering your incredible mind and heart. Then slowly breathe all the way out through your mouth and unplug the thick gray wire. The machinery quietly musters its last burst of electrical charge and hums to stillness. To make sure the Knuckler brothers cannot make something else out of this, Captain EJ snips the end of the wire off with some wire cutters he found on the workbench. Standing up over the machine, you see a pulley system connected to an enclosed box-like compartment that hangs from a braided steel wire. Captain EJ pushes on the clamp that seems to hold it in place, and the box moves along the wire from the rooftop out over Dormere like it's ziplining. You run to the wall of the lab wondering what the wire and pulley are connected to. It's not immediately apparent, so you decide to do the next best thing. You remove the bottom part of the clamp that Captain EJ pushed so no one can push it again. Hopefully, whatever is in that box will stay put until the Dr. Knucklers return. The desolator is by far the most dangerous piece of technology in the lab, but luckily you remember one more. When Pinky realized the whole town was plated in silver, he went down to an inner lab on the lower floors to work on a different machine. There is some kind of soldering equipment that needs to be disabled down there. Mr. Honeybee checks in on the brothers as they sleep. Pinky is still in stage 3, a deep, restorative sleep, but Thumb has cycled back up to REM sleep, which is where we all have our dreams. While this is technically a lighter form of sleep, you and Captain EJ are able to continue on with the mission, just a bit quieter. Captain EJ hopes out loud that the door leading from the roof to the house will simply be left open. You both hold your breath for a moment in anticipation as his hand reaches for the door handle. He pushes it open with ease and you instinctively do a silent high five in the air. The door opens to a pitch-black winding staircase that looks like it leads into an abyss. You can't see around the first curve. Together, you and Captain EJ hold on to the railing and walk very slowly and very quietly. Right foot, left foot, right foot, left foot. You make it all the way down to another door that opens up to another laboratory. There are glass walls that look down into an atrium in the middle of the Knuckler compound. Besides the gigantic tree growing out of their living room floor, it looks like a perfectly typical family home that just happens to have 2 labs attached to it. Pinky and Thumb's rooms are on either side of the house, as if they each get a wing. You stand in the center of the darkened compound, able to see it all. From up here, you'll be able to see if anything or anyone stirs in the lower levels of the house. You and Captain EJ scan the perimeter first to make sure there aren't any literal or figurative tripwires. While you're diligently doing that, you hear Mr. Honeybee talking through the battle bus helmet, but he's not coming in loud and clear like usual. It sounds like he's far away or muffling the microphone. You quietly ask him to copy, but he doesn't hear you nor respond. Captain EJ suggests that maybe he's talking to Roger or Mrs. Honeybee and doesn't want to distract us. That makes perfect sense, so you continue on getting the lay of the lab. Again, Mr. Honeybee comes on through your helmet's communication line. You push the headphone closer to your ear to get a better listen. He's definitely talking to someone, but it doesn't seem to be Roger or Mrs. Honeybee because you cannot hear anyone responding.
You are a smart person and are capable of great things. Use those gifts for relentless good. There's a hero waiting to be discovered inside you. The world needs your gifts, and we need your best. You are loved.
Captain EJ is deep in focus studying a cluster of wires he needs to untangle and doesn't hear Mr. Honeybee like you do. You listen for a little while longer as he repeats those lines over and over. In a loud whisper, you call for him to copy.
Oh, I'm here, team. What do you need?
We didn't quite copy what you were just saying, Mr. Honeybee. Can you please repeat? Over.
Oh, that was, I'll debrief you later. For now, are you able to disable that lab like you did the other?
Captain EJ carefully snips the end of the gray wire that powers crucial machinery in the inner lab and confirms with Mr. Honeybee. You look all around the lab to make any other snips you can. From what you can tell, the sun is beginning to set. The Knucklers will be waking up any minute. Just as you think that, An alarm rings throughout the compound. It sounds like a fire alarm. You and Captain EJ freeze in place like you've been caught, but you haven't. Mr. Honeybee comes in loud and very clear as he urges you to both get out of there immediately. He remotely powers up your ENVs, which are stashed outside of the compound, but you need to meet them back up on the roof. There's no time. That was the Knuckler brothers' nighttime alarm that wakes them up every day. As you silently run out of the inner lab and back up the winding staircase, you think about the effects of such a violent wake-up call. It can't be the reason for their wickedness, but it sure does not create a pleasant experience first thing. Mr. Honeybee clears the house of his nano-analyzers and keeps you updated on Pinky and Thumb's whereabouts. You and Captain EJ quietly shut the rooftop door as the brothers sleepily stumble through their chores. Behind groggy eyes, they walk to the ends of their respective halls in unison and pull 2 levers down. These levers are how power surges throughout the Knuckler compound. At this very moment, the brothers realize the electricity is out. Right on cue, Pinky and Thumb begin their treks down to the locked control panel to reset it. Waiting for your ENVs to arrive, you and Captain EJ peek over the side of the castle-like walls and see the brothers fight over trouble at the control panel. Your plan is working. They realize there's a problem, but so do you. If the ENVs hover above their roof, even silently, Pinky and Thumb will see them and come to know the stealth they've succumbed to. The vehicles appear off in the distance, and you hold them there, behind the cover of a treetop. Pinky and Thumb struggle to re-establish power in the compound, as it dawns on them that something much bigger is at hand. They spiral into a panic, realizing that this is an emergency like none they've experienced in their reign of terror before. You know their next stop will be the rooftop lab to check on the desolator, and just as you thought, the door slams behind them at the bottom level as they run up the roof. You and Captain EJ gesture for your ENVs to rescue you at this perfect moment, wedged between the time it takes for Pinky and Thumb to run up the stairs. As your trusty ENVs arrive, take a slow, deep breath in through your nose to quiet yourself inside and out. Then hop into your vehicle and slowly breathe all the way out to hover silently away. You turn back to see Pinky fling the door to the rooftop lab open. He dashes over to the desolator and realizes what really happened while they slept. Pinky turns red with rage, and through heavy, monstrous breathing, he bends down to pick up the cut power cord. Thumb joins with news that the power cords in the lower lab have also been cut. That's when you remember you have the ability to teleport you and Captain EJ back to safety. Take another slow, deep breath in through your nose. And imagine landing safely back in the command center with Mr. Honeybee. Then slowly breathe all the way out through your mouth and push the button on the remote. The same blue flash creates a sizzling circle of light that cuts into time and space. In the blink of an eye, we are pulled into the vortex through a whirling wind of color. Looking back to Dormere, Pinky and Thumb are cursing the horizon you just disappeared from. Holding the cut wire in his hand, Pinky growls and Thumb pleads.
Who's doing the harm now, Captain and Hero, huh? You've done a lot more than you realize.
So much for fighting for only what's right. Aren't we supposed to use our gifts for relentless good? This is not good.
We land safely and soundly back in the command center. Mr. Honeybee has never been more happy to see us, and you've never been so relieved in your life. But alongside that feeling of relief, you are consumed with what the Knuckler brothers said.
Wow, you did it. You really did it. Mission well done, team. Mission well done.
Excellent work, Hero, as always. I couldn't have done it without you. Mr. Honeybee and Captain EJ are so excited to debrief that you don't want to dampen their happiness with your concern. Thumb's last words to you ring through your mind.
So much for fighting for only what's right.
What could he mean by that? Is there something we missed? Right before you disappeared into thin air, teleporting back to the honeybee house, you saw Thumb trying to reason with his brother.
Pinky, maybe this has all gotten out of hand. I mean, look at what you're holding in your hand. Mom and Dad are going to be so upset when they get back. If you asked Thumb, which you never do, Thumb would say that we need to fix this.
Pinky violently swipes the cut cord through the air, nearly whipping Thumb with it. He jumps back and forth to avoid it and another raging swipe that comes after. Pinky is blind with rage and can see nothing else but his fixation.
The only thing we need to fix is Captain EJ. And Hero and Mr. Honeybee, while we're at it. They're the only problem here. We were just having a good time. It was all in good fun. Imagine that. Fun for once in Dormere. Now, though, it's serious. They need to pay for this.
Back in the safety of Mr. Honeybee's command center, we have so much else to talk about that you let this go from your mind for now. Besides, it's true. A little celebration is in order for what you've managed to do so far. Thanks to you and Captain EJ, the Knucklers quite literally have no power. That concludes our adventure. I can't wait to see you again. Captain EJ, over and out.